Hi everyone, Claudia here. It's spring, possibly my favorite season as long as I am not tortured by my allergies or the sound of mowing in soil. Seriously, plants are finally growing again and people go, beautiful! Let's get rid of it. But anyways, the sight of crocuses? I think both are correct. So the sight of crocuses all over town inspired me to paint some myself. Now, I'm by no means a flower or a botanical painter, but it's never a bad idea to change things up and try painting subjects you are not familiar with. Also, flowers are a great painting exercise and there's a good reason why they are such popular subjects. I also think they're great for beginner watercolorists because you don't have to worry too much about things like anatomy or perspective. As long as you get the basic proportions right, you're good to go. There's no need to perfectly copy your reference. And therefore, you can focus mainly on laying down your paint. Flowers let you explore pretty much all or most of the basic watercolor techniques. So I recommend giving it a try even if you're not usually into painting flowers. As for my process, for the petals I mainly used a mix of ultramarine blue, quinacridone rose and quinacridone purple, adjusting the mixture as I saw needed. I also used a bit of lemon yellow where the petals transition into the stem. As for the stems, as you can see, I tried to add a fancier effect at the bottom so that they wouldn't end in a blunt, boring edge. Was that necessary? Absolutely not, because I covered those parts up later on anyways. And as I had planned to add a background, I skipped putting any details onto the stems because I wanted to see the bigger picture first. So I put down a base layer for every petal before adding some details using the same colors as before. Croci have veins running through their petals, which are hard to see in white crocuses, but are fairly strong in the violet variety. I was almost dry brushing the paint to achieve really fine lines, varying the intensity of the color and also of the hue of my mixture. That way, some areas ended up more blue and others more purple in tone to reflect the subtle differences of color in my reference. When I had the most of the details done, I focused on the background. When painting plants, you don't need a background. Leaving the paper white or only lightly tinting it is also a nice way of framing your subject. But I had planned to do a dark background from the beginning, so I did that before finishing up the flowers. I used a mix of phthalo green, ivory black, cobalt blue and raw umber. The raw umber and the black were supposed to darken and tone down the green, while the blue should act as an accent color sprinkled in here and there. But in the end I mostly mixed up all the colors into one. It took me about 3 layers to reach the depth that I wanted. Having the background in place, it made it even more clear that I would have to add something to the bottom of the painting for a balanced composition. I had 2 options here. One would be using gouache to add some grass stalks and leaves. And the other would mean using one feature of my paper to my advantage, which I did. This paper makes lifting paint super easy. Just add some water to reactivate the paint and dab it off with a tissue or a clean brush. I think I only had to go over the areas I wanted to lift twice and the paper went almost back to white. And to add even more interest, I also created small light dots. Interpret them as little blurry flowers or whatever you want. I didn't record it, but I tinted the lifted areas with a bit of yellow. With the background in place, I could now see where I needed to add a bit more contrast and color to the flowers. So I figured the tips of the petals needed more blue, and I think I also put a hint of yellow to their bottom parts. To finish everything off, I used some white gouache. The edges of the flowers had gotten all unclear with the addition of the dark background, and I could have tried to lift those areas as well, but the gouache gave me a nicer finish, I think. And with that, the painting was finished. As I said, I'm in no way an expert in botanical painting, but I like the end result more than I thought I would. I hope you like it as well, and that I'll see you again. Bye!